Welcome to Suzy's Las Vegas. With me today, I have a very, very special guest. His name is Jeff Hoover. He's with Lipsky and Hoover Insurance, and he'll tell you all about himself. This is wonderful. I'm glad to have him here. He's in California right now, so we're going to bring him on live. Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Doing great, Suzy. How are you?
Good. I'm glad to have you on the show. So let's talk a little bit about you before we get into the insurance. Tell me a little bit about your background.
Well, I've been in the insurance business for over 20 years now, and we specialize in life insurance and life settlements. And so it's an area where we can kind of dial in and be very focused on, and so we know the best products for all of our clients.
Okay. All right. Well, the Lipsky and Hoover, the Lipsky was my husband, Stephen, and you
Yes,
two were
yes.
together for a long time, weren't you?
We were, yes. I had a great mentor that brought me into this business, this wonderful business, and just an absolute gentleman and a great guy all around, and just a true role model. So I feel very lucky to have had that experience working side by side with him and learning kind of the ropes from him.
Well, that's good to know. Steve will be happy to see this interview. It's going to make him very happy. So tell me a little bit about the insurance. What are the different types of insurance that you do?
Well, we focus on life insurance, and there's two main types of life insurance that we do. There's term insurance, which is temporary insurance, and it covers you just for a set amount of time, whether it's 10, 15, 20, or 30 years. And then there's permanent insurance. And so there's different vehicles that fall under that permanent insurance platform, such as whole life. It's very common. A lot of people have heard of that. Universal life, variable universal life, where it's tied to the stock market, or the newest product, which is indexed universal life.
Wow, indexed universal life. You said it's the newest product. Tell me a little bit more about that, will you?
So indexed universal life is very, very attractive, much more attractive than the variable universal life, because with variable universal life, you have the potential of losing money. So if the stock market had a downturn, whatever you had invested in that particular stock or fund could potentially go down to zero if that went to zero. With an indexed universal life insurance policy, it's tied to a mutual fund, and you can choose the different mutual funds. And if that mutual fund ever has a negative year, you just don't get any interest credited to the policy, but you have no risk to your principal. So it's a very favorable product for wealth accumulation, for retirement. There's a lot of and for life insurance, just straight life insurance also.
So what is the most popular insurance that your clients look for?
Most popular, I would say, is either universal life or indexed universal life, depending on how comfortable they are, being invested in mutual funds. If they're not interested in the mutual fund aspect, then they would usually do like a typical universal life policy where it's based on a current assumption product. So, give an example of like John Hancock. They own, lots of commercial real estate. They own a good amount of the timber industry in the United States. So,
Yeah.
it's a very stable investment, and it pays just a lower rate of return, but it's very stable. The
Okay.
indexed universal life that are tied to the mutual funds, they have the volatility of the market. So if you're in a good fund, and then you can enjoy
Yeah.
the upsides of the market with no risk to principal ever.
Wow. There's a lot to this, isn't there? I can
Yes,
tell.
yes.
So what else can you do with with your life insurance? How can it be used for other than the death benefit? Can you give me some examples?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of people have talked about long-term care insurance, and that's something that's kind of a hot point, especially now with people that have gotten older long-term care policies, that the premiums have increased significantly because the companies are experiencing, massive amounts of claims. And
Sure.
so very often with these traditional long-term care policies, by the time someone really needs to use the coverage, they really can't afford the premium to keep it going. So there's several companies that have what's called a long-term care rider. And what that does is it gives you access to the policy's death benefit while you're still alive to cover long-term care benefits. And it would be the same trigger
Wow.
as a traditional long-term care policy where you couldn't do 2 out of the 6 activities of daily living. And it would just pay up to 50 months of benefits using your death benefit.
Wow, I never knew that. See, this is good to talk to you, Jeff. I'm learning lots of new things. I really am. So, what if you have a life insurance policy and you no longer need it? What do you do then?
That's a great question. I run into this a lot where people, start planning and their situation changes, and especially, you're making choices in your late 20s, early 30s sometimes. And when you get into your 50s and 60s, and let's say you don't need that life insurance protection, you had the option of either canceling the policy, and if there was any cash value, you would get the cash surrender value, or you have the option of selling the policy. And usually that would be for an amount significantly higher than the cash value. And that kind of gives you an avenue to sell your life insurance policy to an institution, and whether it's a life insurance company or just a life settlement company, and then they would become the owner and beneficiary of the policy, and they would pay all the premiums, and you would just be sitting on a lump sum of money for a policy that you didn't need. I can give you an example of when this happens
Okay.
a lot is with key person policies with companies. I recently had a company, it was a CPA firm, and the principal was going to be retiring, and they had a term policy, as a matter of fact, that they weren't sure they wanted to keep, and the premium was about $17,000 a year. And so it was $1 million policy, and the gentleman had had some changes in his health. And so what we ended up doing is converting that policy to an index universal life policy and then selling that policy. And so instead of them just stopping paying that premium and saving the $17,000 annual premium, they ended up walking away with almost $400,000 in their pockets.
Wow. See,
So
I like
it's,
talking to you, Jeff. I'm learning new things. This is important. So,
yes.
repeat that one more time for our audience, because this is quite interesting.
Yeah, so if you have a life insurance policy and you don't need it, and there's been a change in health since you got the policy, then what we can do is go to the life settlement market, and it's truly
Okay.
like a bidding auction for a life
Oh,
insurance policy. And anybody that can buy a policy, that are interested, and some companies prefer people that have heart conditions, some people prefer people that have cancers. So it's a matter of just setting it out there, and then everyone just throws their hat in the ring and says, we'll offer this much for the policy, and then we take the cleanest, highest offer, and then it's almost like buying a house where we go into
wow.
escrow, and the funds are deposited into an escrow account, and then all the documentation is all notarized, where a mobile notary would go out with me, and we'd go over the forms and do this transfer of the owner and beneficiary.
Wow. That's quite interesting. See, I'm learning things I didn't know. And I'm sure our audience has no clue about all these, so it's good to talk to you. So what's the most important thing when purchasing a term life policy?
Well, a lot of people think it's the premium, and that's not necessarily the case. Premium's important, but it's not the most important thing. The most important thing is the ability to convert that policy to a permanent life insurance policy. Because right when you're getting that term policy, usually people are younger and they're getting it for a set amount of time. But as our situations change, whether they get married or have kids, and if they had a change in health, they might not be insurable down the road. So having a good conversion privilege on a term life insurance policy is the number one most important thing about getting term life insurance, so that you have the ability to convert that policy to any permanent product that insurance carrier offers with no evidence of insurability.
Really? Wow.
Yes. And it's just like I told you in that example with the life
Yeah,
settlement.
yeah.
That gentleman had 2 different types of cancer in 2 different parts of his body, and we were still able to convert that policy to a permanent policy with no underwriting.
That's amazing. Most people don't think that you can be insured in a situation like that. I like
Yes,
your examples, Jeff. I mean, to me, that's important. The more people know, the better it is.
knowledge is power.
Wow. So going forward, what do you see in the market, like as far as your policies and that? Give me some ideas.
Well, the market's actually been evolving, and so now we're actually trying to go away from fluids. So a lot of life insurance companies will offer life insurance up to $5 million with no physical exam, no blood, no urine. They'll pull medical records and they'll look at prescription drug reports, that kind of thing. And if the underwriter feels it's necessary, then they'll order a physical exam. But if the underwriter doesn't feel it's necessary, then they just issue the policy based upon a telephone interview, and that interview takes about 10 minutes.
Wow. See, I didn't know that. I thought you had to go through the physicals and everything. So a lot of things have changed in the market, haven't they?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, they definitely have.
So with our audience here, we're in Nevada. I'm sure you do a lot of business here, and like with doctors and that, do you get involved here too?
Yes, we have a good amount of clients in Nevada still that are life insurance and disability insurance clients. And so we do business in California and Nevada.
Okay. So what is the age of your clients? Do they start when they're young? Obviously, if they're young, the premium is what, lower? Is that correct?
Correct. Yes. So when you're starting out a life insurance policy, if it's a term policy, you're locking it in at the age that you're purchasing it at. And again, the term periods are 10, 15, 20, and 30 years are the most common term life insurance periods.
Okay.
So, someone that's just finishing college and getting a career going,
Right.
uh, it's a good way to become insured and have that ability of changing the product down the road as their situations change.
Wow, that is amazing. Well, if somebody wants to reach you to talk to you about what we talked about today, how would they get a hold of you, Jeff? Give me the information again, please.
Um, we've had this phone number since 1964. Your husband was a genius in getting it. So it's a really easy number to remember. It's 818-343-4343. And
Wow.
again, your husband got that in 1964, I believe, and we've had it for quite a while.
So tell me, like we've got a few minutes left. Tell me a funny story with Steve. I would just love to hear this.
Well, Steve was a very much a go-getter. He always was on the phone and meeting with clients. And when I came into the business in 2000, he was starting, to wind down his business, getting closer to retirement. So he would, do very well, meeting with clients, and anytime we walked through any doctor's office or hospital, there was always people stopping to say hi to him. And still to this day, when I call insurance carriers and talk to the customer service representatives, they say, "Oh, Lipsky, I remember Steve Lipsky," and ask how he's doing. So, all of his clients going back, to the I'd say the 80s. And I'm still dealing with clients from the policies that he sold in 1980,
Wow.
and they all just worship him. So he's just an absolute great guy, and again, the best mentor I could have had.
So you would say that he's spot on, huh?
Oh yeah, he definitely knew his stuff, and just a really great guy, and could talk to anybody about anything.
Well,
So it was really nice.
when he talks about you, he talks about his son Jeff in the insurance business. So I want you to know that.
Well, thank
Well,
you.
well,
Yes, I consider him my father.
it's been a pleasure to have you and Candy and your family. Candy's your angel. So please tell her I said hello. And your phone number, if anybody wants to call, is
818
okay.
343 4343.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on today, Jeff. This was very important information, and I'm sure you're going to have a lot of people calling you and emailing you on this. And again, thank you for being on Suzy's Las Vegas. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. We appreciate it. You have a wonderful day. Thank you.